Fame. It's Ken Miller, and we have the man from Freight Caviar on with us today. I will tell you about Freight Caviar. We've actually looked at it, and it's helped us a lot in designing some of the things that we are actually using on our podcast itself. It's funny, before you even get you to introduce yourself, I went back and looked at your first podcast and then your last 10, and I'm looking at how it's changed. And I sat down with One Truck America. Says, I see how they've improved over the past 2 years. So let's get to here and let's change some things now. And it directly came from some of yours. I think there are 2 others we looked at. So I just wanted to share that with you before we get into Freight Caviar. Let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Freight Caviar.
Sure. Thanks, Ken. My name's Krystian Gebis. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Freight Caviar and ShipperCRM. I will definitely, a lot of the credit to the team. A lot of the credit goes to the team, the supporting team, basically, that helps with the whole production of all the content. And we have an amazing team of people, content writers, videographers, video editing. We've streamlined this whole thing, but it's thanks, I guess, for the compliment for looking, and we hope to set an example of what hopefully good content, what people judge to be good content, enjoyable content to watch, and we're glad to hear that that's helpful.
Yeah, it's been very helpful. So I used to write some articles for One Truck America, and they contacted me and said, "Man, would you like to do a podcast?" I said, "About what?" And when he said it was trucking specific, logistics specific, I'm like, sure, because I think there's a lot of people that enter our industry that doesn't have a good understanding of what we do. And also there's a lot of misinformation and people not knowing some things that are going on. And I used to lobby with ITA and ATA, so I have access to a lot of information that people not necessarily will have. So I thought that was a great idea. And then so we went down the road to start this podcast. It's been good so far. The feedback's been great. It shows on One Truck America website first, then we load it on YouTube. We get more reviews from the webpage than YouTube itself. But again, I looked at some trucking podcast types out there, and I like your setup the best, just how your graphics are, some of those things. And I literally had sent a message. I said, let's look at the first 10 episodes, and I highlighted them. Then I looked at your last 10, and let's look at the change. Let's look at just how it was put out there on the internet and how it looks. And I loved it. And if you even look at it, you see some changes, and it reflects some of the things that I really liked from Freight Caviar. But not only that, and as you go more to Freight Caviar, I enjoyed the interaction with Freight Caviar on LinkedIn. You guys send lanes, so what would be a pricing here? And you get a lot of feedback just from the logistics community itself. Because
shout out Green Screens AI for that one.
Is that what that's?
Yeah, they're one of our sponsors, and they have great data that I think. I mean, there's so many people that I talk to now that are using Green Screens for pricing. They have a great pricing engine, and they help in many different ways. But yeah, shout out Green Screens for that. It's actually been really valuable. Like you're not the only one to say that those lane prices or lane activity kind of like are really helpful. So
it's good. So tell us how this came about. What are you getting from it? What do you like about it?
Sure.
What were your changes?
Well, the funny thing is
how interaction, things like that.
Yeah, the funny thing is that actually the podcast isn't like really our main thing, but it's kind of like, it's kind of a thing that I would say we really like to do. And we really like to talk, and get to know people in the industry, learn from them, ask them questions. Particularly for me, I'm a really big history nerd. So I really like to go into like the origin stories of how companies started, how the founders built the businesses, how the, early days, how difficult they were, and how they kind of overcame them, and those success stories. So that's one of the big reasons why I really like the doing the podcast. But our primary focus on the business is the newsletter. And so the newsletter recently crossed 10,000 subscribers. Oh, wow. And, believe we have a 50%, just 50% or just over 50% open rate. So we have some people have literally opened the newsletter every single day for the past 2 years. And we do it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's at 8 a.m. Central Time, almost on the dot every single time. Sometimes maybe we're like 4 minutes late, but generally speaking, it's always at 8 a.m. those 3 days. And even on holidays, the team is amazing. I mean, we have incredible writers, content writers, Adriana. We hired a new couple of people as well to help with that. So it's a whole system that we built in. I will say that a lot of the credit goes definitely to Paul and the team, and I'm more of a support role on what we call like amongst Paul and ourselves. It's kind of like the media side of the business, which is like Caviar, and then the technology side of the business, which is the kind of definitely more for sure my responsibility. And so that's kind of like how Paul and I divide these two things, but play a pretty good role in the support side, like reviewing a lot of the content, get asked for input, reviewing the newsletter. Meme contribution is there as well too, from time to time, more so on my side. But when I come up with one, they're usually pretty good. Paul's really good at but the thing to Paul's credit is that he's very, from the beginning, if it was up to me, it would be hard to be kind of like have a consistent social presence. And being on a schedule Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and for the newsletter, and then off of the newsletter, basically creating, supplementary content that goes along with it, posts to thinking about that day's stories, or on images onto Instagram, and then it's kind of evolved, but all around this core of our DNA being the newsletter itself. So that's continuing to grow, and it's awesome actually to go to a conference or even talk to, let's say, ShipperCRM customers that are reading the newsletter. It's oftentimes that it's the only newsletter that they read, and it's for good reason. We put in a lot of work and effort into that, and it's been refined. Over time, it's improved, and we keep making improvements to it. So it's a new honestly, it's I come from a technical background, robotics and AI, and media was not something that I knew anything really about. So I learned a lot by building out this business, and it's very different. I wasn't used to it. So a lot of learning lessons and kind of just general conceptual things about how, things work in the world, particularly from a brand awareness and distribution side of things that working on this business really, adjusted my point of view on a lot of things, particularly around building a business. I don't think I'm ever going to build a business again. If there's one after this, then that will not be based off of a core audience that will drive the distribution for the product, let's say a software product or whatever it might be, whatever type of product, because it's so incredibly, it actually alleviates a lot of the stress, or a lot of the pressure off of having to find really staff and put out into the world. Yeah. We set the bar for quality very high. That's on the media side. That's on the software side as well. And with the media side being the distribution, the primary channel distribution, we know we can reach a lot of people with a pain point pretty fast. And so we want to make sure that the content that they're reading, is valuable, so they stay around.
No, yeah. Listen, I will give you some things that I think, a couple of things that I've seen that is important and is great on you guys. First of all, cadence is something that you do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We used to do we used to release our podcasts on every other Tuesday. And the problem with that is people don't really remember what Tuesday came out. So we switched it to the 1st and the 15th. So no matter what day that is, it could be Christmas Day. You get one on the 1st or you get one on the 15th. I think cadence is important. The next thing that's very important for you, which I'm sure you have taken advantage of, if you want to advertise something to the trucking company and you just want to advertise it on general TV, you're probably going to have to advertise to about 500,000 people to get 10,000 logistics people.
Yeah.
But what you have is 10,000 logistics. So if you're selling a trucking product, that 10,000 logistics people is way more powerful than 100,000 regular people who may not be logistics. Just so you understand.
And I think to add to that, a lot of the audience, so not only obviously logistics professionals, right, but these are like high-level executives.
Yeah. Buyers, transportation
makers, exactly.
Yeah, decision makers. But it's important because it's hard. I tell people, you can go out and advertise on, we're not selling to an end user on Facebook, some of those things, but you're going to get 500,000 people. Well, that has nothing to do with logistics. But when you can find an avenue, and that's what we're trying to create with Hall of Fame, and you have already created there, and that's what One Trucker Map is. They have a newsletter that comes out also, is you are specifically talking to the people that are buying or selling or anywhere. And that's hard to find. So that concentration of 10,000 is a strong number when you talk about advertising. Of course, advertising ShipperCRM, great. But I'm sure you can go other places other than ShipperCRM as far as advertising. So I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we have a lot of great sponsors that we're really thankful for and are really happy with us. And there's a big difference between going out on Facebook and Instagram and advertising. There it's basically kind of a numbers game essentially when you go that route. And with us, it is to some extent there we need to have a confident. Our customers on the media side, our sponsors, they have to have some level of confidence that they're actually going to get a return out of, advertising with ShipperCRM. And right now we have, customers that have booked with us for a year ahead after trying us out. We have customers that, are basically continuing to extend, their sponsorships with us, and because they're seeing from a brand awareness perspective, which is huge, right? Just the brand recognition for just like a super concentrated group of logistics professionals from all sides of the spectrum of the logistics industry, particularly on the freight broker side as well. But that concentration just gives them such a brand awareness. I mean, Green Screens, Armstrong Transportation's one of our bigger sponsors as well. And just that exposure alone, Isometric, there's a lot. Need to be faster on these names for these sponsors, but Levity, AI, and so forth. But that's basically they've been really happy with the exposure that we've been able to get them. So,
well, that's good. What's good. So let's talk about. What platforms is Freight Caviar on? Is it on what social media platforms? On all of them? Give us an idea where we can find it. LinkedIn, yeah. I know, because I follow you guys on LinkedIn quite a bit. Where else?
We actually are just an hour ago, I just checked, and we are about 9 followers away from the 50,000 follower milestone on LinkedIn.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so we just posted about it on X that we 9 more followers, and we memed our way to 50,000. But there's a little bit more to that, obviously, with the newsletter and so forth. But nonetheless, like 50,000 on LinkedIn, and on Instagram we have, I think, I haven't checked like super recently, but I think it was about 36,000, 38,000, something around there. And those are our 2 primary drivers for a lot of our audience. Then we are on YouTube. A lot of our podcasts go onto YouTube. I think we have maybe.
I watched it on YouTube. Yeah, I watched it on YouTube. It's funny you say that. We realized that when driving people to our podcast, whether it is One Truck America webpage or to YouTube, the only ones that we get it from is actually LinkedIn and Instagram.
Good.
For YouTube to have been subscribed to find it. We get nothing from Twitter or Facebook. It's like dead. It's like one of those dead holes. So it really just concentrated on. I push it through to Instagram a lot, and we push it through LinkedIn, because those are the 2 we're getting the most feedback from.
Those are the ones that we spend. I would say the significant portion of our time around those platforms, LinkedIn and Instagram. And they have ever so slightly maybe different audiences. I would say that on the LinkedIn side, you have more, you'd have more kind of logistics professionals that are more heavily, densely on the executive, decision maker side of things. But then there's also a lot of people that, they're salespeople at a freight brokerage, carrier sales reps, just general carriers, dispatchers, whatever. But on the Instagram side, I mean, I personally, for example, like I don't have a personal Instagram anymore. And so I can't really speak too much on Instagram side, like how that kind of audience divides.
Well,
but
I can kind of give you I can tell you, like when I go to LinkedIn, even if I push it through my LinkedIn, I would say that my 10,000 friends of it, 8,000 work in logistics. When I push anything through Instagram, it's not even close, probably 5%. The people that watch our podcast through Instagram are people that know me and are curious. They're not really not a ton of them are in logistics. So the meat of the people I get is from LinkedIn. So I think you're following the right path. If you have 50,000 followers and you gain it just to get to that number itself, I think you're on the right path. So, well, in wrapping up, before we wrap up, what do you want to tell us? Want to tell us how to get to Freight Caviar on LinkedIn, on how to get to it on Instagram, and anything you want to close with? Just let us know.
Yeah, we'll
put a link. We'll put a link on the bottom too when this is sent out to get to Freight Caviar. You just tell me which one you want. You can text me later which one you want. Sure, but
that works for me. It's just it's Freight Caviar at Freight Caviar on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and YouTube. It's all the same. Spelled the same. Freight Caviar, no spaces, just one word essentially. And freightcaviar.com. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, gets sent out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 a.m. Central. It's the best digest basically of what's going on, what the state of freight is, freight brokers, freight brokerages, carriers, freight tech, latest news on that side. And then we try to spice it up and make it entertaining, funny a little bit with, some comedic aspect to all of it. But if you haven't, go to freightcaviar.com, sign up to the newsletter, and hopefully you find it valuable, like the rest.
All right. Yeah. But thank you for taking the time to come on the Hall of Fame podcast. Thank you and have a great day.